To begin with judicial matters, where the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, has been ordered by the Federal High Court sitting in Umuahia, Abia State, to immediately delete Section 84, subsection 12 of the amended Electoral Act. Justice Evelyn Anyadike on Friday held that the section was unconstitutional, invalid, illegal, null, void, and of no effect whatsoever, and cannot stand because it's in violation of the clear provisions of the Constitution. The section says, quote, "No political appointee at any level shall be voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election." In the suit, Justice Anyadike further stated that the 1999 Constitution already stipulates that appointees of government seeking to contest elections were only to resign at least 30 days to the date of the election, and that any other law that mandated such appointees to resign or leave office at any time before that was unconstitutional, null, void to the extent of its inconsistency to the clear provisions of the Constitution. Now, a high court in the Federal Capital Territory has vacated an order stopping the National Convention of the All Progressives Congress, billed for March the 26th, from taking place. Justice Bello Kau gave the judgment, arguing that a political party cannot be sued by its member. The judge relied on a recent Supreme Court judgment, Aguma versus APC, to conclude his ruling. Justice Kau had on November the 18th, 2021, granted an order suspending the convention indefinitely after Salisu Umoro, the plaintiff in the suit, took APC, the chairman, caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, and the Independent National Electoral Commission before the court to challenge the planned convention. And the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says Willie Obiano, the immediate past governor of Anambra State, has not been released from its custody but transferred to Abuja. The anti-graft agency was reacting to earlier reports that the former governor had been released. Mr. Obiano, who has been on the commission's watch list for months, was taken into custody by the EFCC at about 8:30 p.m. yesterday at Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, hours after the inauguration of his predecessor, Charles Chukwuma Soludo. Our correspondent, Ivy Kanu, visited the EFCC office here in Lagos and brought back this report.
March the 17th will remain indelible in the mind of the ex-governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, as he did not only hand over to his successor, Professor Charles Soludo, but also a day that he was picked up at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport here in Lagos on his way out of the country to Houston in the United States. He's been governor for 8 years, and that has made it impossible for the commission to arrest him because he had immunity. Now that he has left the office, on that same day he was picked up, we gather that he's been on the watch list of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for over 4 months while in office before his tenure ended. We also know that last year in November, the commission had written to the Nigerian immigration informing them to put the ex-governor on their watch list and get across to them anytime he's trying to leave the country. So that was actually what happened on Thursday. It was a collaboration between the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Earlier, there were reports that he had been released, but we can tell you from what we gathered that he's been moved to the Commission's headquarters in Abuja.
Let's take you to Delta State, where the State Police Command has confirmed the arrest of a man suspected to be involved in the killing of an army lieutenant in Efron. The police also have in their custody some suspected cultists said to have killed 4 rival cult members in Jesse, Ethiopia West local government area. Ikina Amechi was there.
On the 11th of this month, an army lieutenant was shot dead in his private car in Enere community, Uwe Council area of Delta State, and the police immediately launched a manhunt for his killers. Today, the police commissioner in the state, during a parade of suspects, which include suspected cultists, kidnappers, armed robbers, speaks more about the death of the young military officer.
We had a bad incident where a lieutenant, the ops officer of Nigerian Army based in Warri, was shot at the wee hours of that night. My men, led by the DPO himself, were on patrol along Urobo College Road. They saw a young man that was, dead, lying lifeless in the pool of his own blood, and the body was picked to the station. His pocket was searched, an ID card was recovered. Then a call was put across to our sister agency, and in fact they confirmed that he is one Lieutenant M.M. Musa. One suspect has been arrested, and the command is making efforts with a view to ensuring that his allies, those who partake in that dastardly act, are also arrested and dealt with.
On parade here are these 43 young men arrested for their alleged involvement in cultism, which is prevalent in some parts of the state, with the recent court-related killings in Jesse, Etiop West Council area.
I want to inform you today that we have arrested 3 of the notorious members of Arobaga group that were indeed responsible for this killing, and they are all here. Cultists, like you are aware, have been disturbing the command in recent times, not just at Ogara and Jesse Axis alone.
This young man is in custody for unsuccessful suicide attempt. The police also recovered some arms and ammunition. The rise in court-related violence in the state can be reflected in the number of suspects arrested for cultism, as the State Police Command wants school authority and the state government to do more to ensure cultism is reduced to the barest minimum. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Asaba.
Also, Borno State, where more than 1,000 less privileged persons in Maiduguri have benefited from food, seedlings and cash assistance courtesy of the Wali of Borno. The humanitarian assistance is aimed at giving them a sense of belonging. TVC News' Jesse Tafida reports.
6 different locations within Maiduguri and Jere Local Council benefited from the humanitarian gesture, including the State Specialist Hospital, Kamburi Kura, Kamburi Ghana, and Fatima Ali Sharif Orphanage. Other State Specialist Hospital, patients at the pediatric ward benefited from cash assistance to enable them buy drugs and other medical items.
We need to identify ourselves as colleagues in humanity, our human colleagues before any other thing. We should always try and reach out to the downtrodden, those truly in need, those that cannot reach out. I often say, even if you don't have much, but if you have the privilege to reach out to someone and even ask, it's even a privilege. So we'll keep doing that for as long as we live and whatever means we have.
Medical Director of the hospital and beneficiaries lauded the monarch for the gesture.
We are happy to have people like you in our midst that have been doing this, not the first time and this is not the second. So we are very happy for you.
She says, I never expected this today. My son has been sick for 5 days now. This support would go a long way in settling our medical bills. I am very grateful by this gesture. I'm delighted. I pray God to bless Wali for doing this. Food and cash assistance was also distributed to the blind in Maiduguri, as well as to the Fatima Ali Sharif Orphanage. The Wali of Borno also presented 500 different types of seedlings to be used by the less privileged as economic trees. The management of the State Specialist Hospital appreciate this gesture and are calling on other well-to-do individuals to come to the aid of the less privileged in the society so as to put a smile on their faces. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Let's talk some health matters now. A new report that proposes that at least 83 million poor Nigerians should be provided with health insurance coverage has been launched. The Lancet Nigeria Commission report has established an indisputable link between health investment and socio-economic development. Kemi Balogun has more on this report.
The world is gradually returning to normalcy despite numerous challenges thrown up by the COVID-19 pandemic to healthcare and many sectors of the economy. Various measures are being put in place to fully bounce the healthcare system back to not only being functional, but also to improve health security. One of such measures is the launch of the Lancet Nigeria Commission report, which calls for investing in health and the future of the nation.
The report proposes a new social contract centered on health to address Nigeria's need to define her relationship or the relationship between the citizens and the state.
As we emerge from the pandemic and move on to recovery, we are very much aware of these challenges. Our growing population requires increased investment in health to achieve the desired goals of a healthy population.
Which in summary requires that government must see health as a social contract and strategic investment in order to ensure universal health coverage, eliminate catastrophic out-of-pocket expenditure, and ensure the mainstreaming of health into all policies.
The report seeks to ensure that there's an improvement in Nigeria's health outcomes through innovation and policy reforms. Nigeria's Vice President agrees that the report will improve Nigeria's health security outcomes, and the government will carefully consider recommendations not implemented yet.
Of course, there's no way by which we can say that we've done enough or nearly enough. The challenges are there for us all to see. And I think the report underscores those challenges and, of course, puts all of the responsibility where it ought to lie. But we welcome innovation and fresh thinking to further improve Nigeria's health outcomes.
The report presents analysis and evidence to support a positive and realistic health future for all Nigerians. Investment in healthcare will not only improve the health of all Nigerians, but it also has the potential of increasing the nation's GDP. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
Talking politics, some northern youths have predicted that the All Progressives Congress will emerge stronger from the current leadership crisis within the party. They spoke in Port Harcourt while reacting to the controversies trailing the build-up to the National Convention scheduled for the 26th of March 2022. Senior reporter Uche Okoro has more on this.
The jostle for leadership positions in the All Progressives Congress at the national level has become a source of concern for some party faithful. Particularly, the dispute over the office of the national chairman is again raising concerns that the APC may be weakening its chances at the polls in 2023. Many Nigerians are also waiting to see the impacts that President Muhammad Buhari's intervention would have on the situation. But for the South and Southeast Arewa Youth Group, there is no cause for alarm. The successful conduct of the APC National Convention would restore normalcy to the party.
And the issue of this crisis lingering till 2023, I don't see it lingering till 2023. The crisis will naturally die immediately after the convention. The heat of the crisis and everything is due to this convention. Every bloc is trying to make sure they bring out the national chairman from their own bloc. But we strongly believe by 26 to 27 of this month, after the convention, this internal crisis will die naturally.
These youths of northern extraction are optimistic that Senator Umar Tanko Al-Makura would emerge as the new national chairman of the All Progressives Congress. The group talked about the former governor's experience and credibility, two qualities that they insist are necessary for leading the APC. The history of the party, they say, supports their position.
Among the three major political parties that form the APC, only the CPC are yet to produce a national chairman. We strongly believe now is the time for a national chairman We strongly believe now is the time for a national chairman from CPC, and the most suitable and formidable person is Senator Umar Tanko Al-Makura.
The South and Southeast Arewa Youth Group also rejected the idea of a consensus candidate for the position of national chairman, saying only an open contest would produce the best. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
And in Ogun State, some members of the All Progressives Congress have declared their support for the re-election of the state governor, Dr. Obiano. They are also calling on Lagos Senator Solomon Adiola to return to his home state to represent Ogun West at the Senate in 2023. The group, under the aegis of the Yayi Liberation Team, says members are pleased with the governance style of Governor Abiodun in the last 3 years. They noted that with a strong lawmaker like Solomon Adiola, popularly known as Yayi in the state, more developmental projects will be facilitated to the state, especially in Ogun West. They also embarked on peaceful walk across Odo-Otin area, calling on stakeholders to encourage the duo to yield their call.
We want this achievement to continue for good 8 years. If we can achieve this within this short period of time, it means if we allow him to spend close to 8 years or more than 8 years, we can see more than this. We are also appealing to our executive governor of the state, Prince Dr. Adebayo Bamire, to kindly please allow our son from Lagos State, which is the son of Ogun State, Yayi, to come and represent us in Ogun West.
In Ogun West, out of 100%, we are assuring you 85%. Whatever it will give for Yayi to come and repeat what is happening in Lagos State, in Ogun West, if he needs 100%, we Igbos, we are assuring you of 85%.
And the Kwara State government has assured the Nigerian Labour Congress of its readiness to train workers for optimum performance. A state head of service, Susan Oluwole, stated this at a one-day workshop organized by the Kwara State Council of NLC in Ilorin. The head of service noted that the training is timely as it will afford the labor union's opportunity of imparting modern knowledge on its members, especially as it relates to different labor challenges. The head of service, who was represented at the event, also assured of government's readiness to have enlightened workers in its employment.
Clear indication that there must be peaceful coexistence between employers of labor and trade unions. The labor must be sensitive to viability of the employer. Equally, the employer must be mindful of the welfare of the employee. Situation demands that we look into issues using contingency approach so as to arrive at an equilibrium that will benefit both parties.
When we expect good results from our leaders at various unions, we should be able to have the kind of results we are expecting from them. Therefore, we have no choice than to enforce your leadership for effectiveness. This is very imperative for upward movement of our union and the Congress. On this, we need to train ourselves in the latest act and the rudiments of industrial union operations.
Now, the appointment of Professor Adebayo Bamire as the new Vice Chancellor of the Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife has been greeted with protest by some Ife natives who want an indigene be appointed into the office for the first time in 61 years. The protesters vowed to continue the protest until their demand is met. Professor Adebayo Bamire, the current Vice Chancellor of Academics, is an indigene of Oyan in Odo-Otin, local government area of Osun State. Our correspondent Rafiu Hamid reports.
University O.A.U. Ile-Ife was established in 1961. It has had 11 vice chancellors, and the tenure of the incumbent, Professor Iyitoke Ogunbodede, ends on the 7th of June this year. In line with tradition, 16 persons applied to take up the job, and after necessary steps were taken, the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council of the University, Owele Oscar Udoji, announced Professor Adebayo Bamire as the new Vice Chancellor.
In line with the provisions of the Universities Miscellaneous Provision Amendment Act as amended, the report of the Selection Board was considered by the Council, which, after a careful and dispassionate review of the report, decided to appoint Professor Adebayo Bamire, a Professor of Agricultural Economics from the Faculty of Agriculture, Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife, as the Vice Chancellor of the University with effect from June 7, 2022.
But this was immediately greeted with protest by some people, especially the indigenes of the town. They said an indigene of the town among the contestants must be picked as the successor to Professor Adebayo Bamire. The protest continued on Friday as they shut the entrance gate, preventing movement of vehicles in and out of the university. Carrying placards with various inscriptions, the protesters vowed not to allow academic activities take place.
We have been lenient with O.A.U community for 61 years. We own this land. Our fathers gave this land. This soil is ours. If we cannot produce a substantive Vice Chancellor for 61 years, we have failed.
So what we are clamoring for is that for the period of 5 years, just a single time, test Ife. We have somebody that can do it. Yesterday we are here just briefly, but today we are here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we'll be here. We want to show them that we actually mean business them around. We are not saying Ile-Ife. We are saying Ife, federal constituency, after 61 years. This is the 12th VC that we appoint. We are going to fight it to the last call. We are not saying there's no appointment Bamire. Bamire should go back to Odo-Otin and become his VC.
The new Vice Chancellor is the current Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics of the institution and is expected to resume his new office on the 7th of June this year. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Ile-Ife, Osun State.
The federal government has warned licensed lottery companies in the country to pay their outstanding liabilities or risk revocation of the licenses. The Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator George Akume, said these are the official launch of the Back to School Jumpstart project in Lagos. The project, with theme No School Left Behind in Surulere, was organized by Office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives in collaboration with the National Lottery Trust Fund. There is more in this report.
Statistics put the number of deaths from the COVID-19 pandemic to more than 6 million. But statistics are scarce regarding how many children have dropped out of school due to the pandemic, especially in developing economies like Nigeria. Hence, the launch of the Jumpstart project in Lagos by the National Lottery Fund in collaboration with the Office of the Speaker, House of Representatives. The project aims to digitize teaching and learning process as well as inculcate the culture of basic hygiene in schools across the country.
They enable government to equip public schools with e-learning facilities that are to be launched in due course.